So this is something I've been wanting to do ever since I started a YouTube channel to go over my dream death battle season. I sort of tried this with my top 20 episodes I wanted to see, but that was just 20 episodes that I would overall enjoy to see more than any other. And honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of that video, both because the matches on that list are no longer some of my most wanted, and also mostly because of my mic. I should have gotten a better mic before making that video, and hopefully my mic here is better. I severely hope it is. Alright, the point of this video is to go over my dream season. I forgot. Well, to get back onto that, Season 9 being about halfway done, I wanted to make this video about my dream season of Death Battle. And just in case some of these matchups end up happening this season, at the time of this script, Omni-Man vs. Homelander is about a week old, and next time is Magneto vs. Tetsuo. I just wanted to point that out so nobody goes, wait a second, Riddler vs. Superboy already happened, you don't need to include it on this list. Also, I limited the series repeat count by 0, which would help make this both a bit more challenging and more fun to come up with matchups. Also, sorry ahead of time if these segments are shorter than others. There's only so much to talk about with some of these matches. This intro's gone on long enough, let's just start things up. Episode 1. So, for the season premiere, I wanted to kick things off with an episode that's both super popular and also one of my most wanted. So I went down the list and thought that the best choice for my season premiere would be Nero vs. Hellboy. It's a simple yet fun idea. They could bounce off each other pretty well in terms of both banter and abilities. I'd like a shot where Nero does one of his combos from DMC5, but before his last hit, Hellboy catches his blade with his fist and throws him into the ground. There could be a gunfight between the two, firing bullets back and forth before they run out of ammo, and Nero just runs after Hellboy to rush him down, whereas Hellboy takes a second to load his gun and fires a bullet at Nero from point blank range. I choose this fight to be Blender because I feel like most of the fight would involve gunfights and sword versus fist action, both of which fit the Blender team's strengths. Fair enough. Bets on who would win, I'd heard Nero wouldn't win normally, though Hellboy would apparently win the death battle, which I'm more than happy because Hellboy's awesome. Oh, and Nero seems cool as well, I guess. Episode 2. So what better for a second episode of the season than a 2-on-2 match? BanjoKazooie vs. Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. Simple rivalry from the later 90s, it involves a returning character that I love, with a completely new skill set now that Diddy is here, fighting a pair of characters that I also really like. They have a lot of crazy abilities that I think would bounce off each other really well. It could be really funny seeing Banjo and Kazooie talking smack about the Kongs without them realizing. Pretty sure the Kongs win, which is pretty awesome. I don't have much to say on this match, hope it happens someday, it'd be awesome. Episode 3. So I wanted a battle royale in this season, though most ideas just don't interest me. There is one idea, an idea that by far is the stupidest idea I've ever heard for any match I have ever heard of. But because of that, I kinda love it. The Pokemon Rodent Battle Royale is such a ridiculous idea that would actually work really well for a fight. Every Pokemon in the field has common enough moves and shares a lot of moves in common with one another for some fun clashes and a ton of different moves from one another, thanks to coverage to spice things up. The debate is actually super close as well. Every Pokemon on the field has some kind of advantage, except Gumshoes. This can make for a fun and really close episode, almost every Pokemon on the field being able to take the win at any moment. I thought in a season that had nothing but stomps so far, and will have a lot more stomps later on, a super goofy and close match like this is kinda needed. Episode 4. Inferno Cop vs. Axe Cop. I have no start to this, it's just a match I really like. They're both really funny characters, Inferno Cop especially. I choose this to be a mixture fight, primarily because I feel like these characters are insane enough where they change the animation style during the fight, like Saitama vs. Popeye. I'd like a shot towards the start where the setup is a hand-drawn and Inferno Cop is completely stationary like in the show. He and Axe Cop would meet, and Inferno Cop just speaks Japanese. Axe gets more and more annoyed that he can't understand Inferno Cop, so his solution is just to punch Inferno so hard that he starts speaking English, and the animation style also changes to sprites. That could make for a really cool setup. I want to say X Cop wins, which is kind of an L because I do like Inferno Cop a bit more. Though I haven't watched X Cop yet, and I really want to. Seems like a fun show. Episode 5, this is another episode I don't have an intro for. It's Wander vs. Eren Yeager. The fact that it's a Sprite fight might be a bit weird, but it's only Sprite because I needed a 10 Sprite fight, I'ma be real. Another elephant in the room is Why Not Ken? Simple, character bias. I don't really care about Tokyo Ghoul, but Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favorite games ever made, so... Could for sure be a cool fight. You can get a kaiju army fight, what more do you really need? Episode 6. This was almost a hand-drawn episode, but I decided to make it sprites because I've got another hand-drawn episode later on. Plus, an Inferno Cop vs. Zagreus Cop would be more hand-drawn than anything else. The episode in question for this spot, though, is Stan Smith vs. Archer. Best way I could describe this episode idea is Snake vs. Sam meets Hercule Satan vs. Dan Hibiki. Imagine a scene with the two of them in close quarters gunfight, with it ending because one of them was about to get the perfect shot before tripping and falling on a table or something because he wasn't paying attention. Or the climax of the fight being a sort of parody of Snake vs. Sam, with the two ready to go in for a knife fight. They're bloody and beaten, and only one will be leaving. Before some of the fight from earlier causes the roof to collapse on the loser. Something like this could make for one of the most tense and yet funniest episodes of the series, I think. Episode 7. I know a friend of mine will be very happy to see this here, I think. Splinter vs. Shifu is probably my ideal return for either series. Kung Fu Panda definitely, even if other episodes like Kai vs. Ermac or Tai Lung versus... well, pretty much anyone he's paired with would be fine by me. They do sound fun. And Ninja Turtles... well, the obvious other match for me at least is Donnie vs. Spider-Man, but now I kind of prefer Splinter vs. Shifu. I do still really like Peter vs. Dawn, but I think this would be a cooler fight, you know? Plus, it doesn't feature two returning combatants, so I mean, there's that as well. A close, intense, close quarters match between the two Kung Fu masters, giving each of their wisdom, experience, and advice during the fight. Start the fight with Splinter approaching Shifu's temple, wanting his knowledge, and hoping to learn more to improve his skills to train the turtles. Shifu accepts, and they do a little spar, before realizing they're equally matched, stepping it up for a notch. Splinter probably wins, which I'm fine with since I love both characters about the same. Episode 8. Zagreus vs. Peter Jackson. Another example of me liking a less popular match for a popular character. I'm sorry, but Pitt doesn't really need a run back, and even if he did, I'd rather see Zagreus fight Percy anyways, so, yeah. A cool sprite fight where the two of them throw out all their weapons at one another. I'd love a scene where Zagreus uses the power of the Greek gods, and Percy counteracts with the gods of Olympus coming to help him as well. Maybe a scene of the two of them looking at each other confused or out of their mind on why there's two of every Greek god. Another reason I'd love to see this is because I don't know who'd win, actually. It's pretty close to my knowledge. And if it's not close, well, no one's told me the winner then, I guess. I don't know. The final bet's Percy Jackson probably has something in one of his books. Episode 9. I've talked about this idea before. If you know me, you know I love this idea. It's one of my most wanted. It's still one of my most wanted. Armstrong vs. G. Cool fight, two buff politicians beating the shit out of one another. Not a whole lot to say here. Just be really cool to see. Episode 10. Time for the mid-season finale. For this one, you guys probably expected this to show up eventually. Especially if you know me. It's my most wanted match. It's Travis Touchdown vs. Ryoko Matoi. I know I said Pitt doesn't need a run back, and Ryoko was on last season, but shut up. I've gone over the connections in an older video, but the basic gist is that they're primarily red characters with anger issues who lost their parents due to a mysterious girl from their past, so they go after said person, and the stories end with them killing a super rich person attempting to control the world in outer space. There's a lot more than that, but that's the core theme. The two have a ton of abilities to throw at one another. They both obviously have a sword for a really cool sword fight. They also both have bikes they can drive, ways to quickly fly, super forms that increase their strength, projectiles up the wazoo, and the banter would be the blast as well. Starting with both of them talking shit at one another, and you could either have them gain more respect for one another, or lose any semblance to respect they had for one another. Love it, love it, love it. I really hope Death Battle does it at some point. Episode 11. Now bringing us back from our season break, I wanted a big popular match that would make a lot of people immediately invested into the show again. So I opted to go with Cole McGrath versus Alex Mercer. The connections aren't much, the match more so comes from the legacy of Infamous versus... The match... I can't talk, but I'm probably going to keep that in. The match more so comes from the legacy of Infamous versus Prototype more than actual connections, with them both being very similar games in terms of gameplay and theme, pioneers of their genre, and coming out within I think it was a week of one another. What a coincidence. The fight would be fun as well, with the two of them just shooting out their electric and blood powers at one another, with Cole's better experience going head to head with Alex's better versatility. I'm not even that attached to either series. I just love to see this happen at some point. Kinda shocked it hasn't already, as a matter of fact. Episode 12. Another match from my most wanted list, it's Caboose vs. Adam Davenport. The connections aren't much, they're just strong, brain-dead comedic reliefs from their groups. At least that's all I know so far because I haven't watched Red vs. Blue past Season 3 yet, so maybe there's more. But even with that small amount of connections, this just vibes with me. It's probably the best match for both. Does Caboose need a rerun though? Well, I wouldn't be against it, I wouldn't be against it, because it would focus more on Caboose as an individual, and not just Team Blue as a whole. Oh, also, Labyrinth getting on Death Battle in general would be very cathartic for me. Episode 13. Nate vs. Joel. I really don't have a lot to say on some of these fights lately, huh? This would be a fight that would excel in both a gun duel as well as hand-to-hand. Have Nate do better with guns, whereas Joel would do better with his hand-to-hand thanks to his melee weapons like the Shiv. I'd imagine Nate would win due to having more feats to go off of, as well as his insane luck. Episode 14. Death Battle could use more animated movie wraps on the show. Anyways, here's Groove vs. Megamind. Fun fact, this is both the most requested episode to happen according to the Death Battle subreddit, and my trailer for this match is actually my first and currently only video to hit 1,000 views. Thank you guys so much for that, by the way. It means a lot. I'm sure I don't need to convince you guys of this match. Most people love this match. I'm no different. And Season 9 is actually the better time than ever to do this. Minions 2 comes out this summer, and Megamind is now one of the most popular animated movies of the 2010s. Hopefully this happens soon. I cannot wait. Episode 15. Out of all the episodes that weren't in my top 20 video, this is the one I regret not putting on there the most. Scorpion vs. Wolf. I know it's not a match everyone loves, but it just vibes with me in a really weird way. I can't really describe it. If I'm not mistaken, the connections are that they're undead warriors from a deceased clan who come back from the afterlife in order to get revenge on those who have wronged them. Assuming I'm right, this is a really cool match with a ton of animation potential. Both of these characters throwing their abilities back and forth at one another. It's not the most thematic thing ever, but it's still got a fun idea with great animation potential for a really grand fight. It's one of my most wanted, and I hope it happens soon. Episode 16. It's time for the big Halloween special. If you know me, you know what the Halloween special is. It's not Jason vs. Michael because I'm cringe. Instead, it's Pennywise vs. Flumpty. They're both Lovecraftian monsters who normally look like an innocent things and a clown and an egg, who can shape seemingly all of reality, but limit their powers in order to entertain themselves more while attempting to kill their victims. It's incredibly stupid, I know, but it just sort of vibes with me in a weird way that doesn't make any sense. It lacks connections, but the animation potential is why I'd like to see this happen. These two characters have so much to throw out one another. The hellish nightmares they can summon and become. And since Flumpty apparently wins, maybe have a shot of Pennywise standing there, truly terrified of Flumpty, before the egg murders the clown. Episode 17. Time for the live action fight of the season. And I choose John Wick vs. Agent 47 to be my episode of choice. I mentioned earlier that Sam vs. Archer would be a sort of parody of Snake vs. Sam. However, Wick vs. 47 would be a spiritual successor to the episode. The two hitmen going at him in close quarters, swapping between gun, knife, fist, and using a scenery to their advantage. Have the kill take place in a back alley, or whatever the fight takes place in. The rain pouring down from the sky, the two ready their fists. One will stand. They're bloodied and beaten. They're gonna kill each other to the last breath. They fight more and more, punch after punch, swing after swing, hit after hit, blood after blood, until the loser has an opening. The winner exploits it, running after them, and cracks her neck, ending the battle. A death like this could make for one of the most tense and climactic, and arguably, dare I say, maybe even cinematic kills of the whole show, and could be one of its best. Episode 18. So I watched Invincible about 2 months ago, and it was great. One of my favorite shows ever. Omnilander was a great episode, one of the best hand-drawn fights ever. But what about another Invincible episode? Well, I'd be interested in seeing one sometime soon. And out of all the choices, Invincible vs. Novo is what would be the most interesting to me. I do like Trunks vs. Gohan as well, but Nova just vibes with me. Wait, fuck, did I just... I do like Trunks and Gohan as well, but Nova just vibes with me better than anyone else. Could make for a really cool space fight. I don't have a ton to say, I just think it'd be pretty neat. Episode 19. I need a big episode to be our penultimate finale, and out of all the options, Bowser vs. Eggman feels like it would be the best choice. One of the most requested episodes to happen, and is one of the only fights between two veterans that I'd be interested in seeing. Start the fight with an army fight, before halfway through Bowser gets out of his car and takes Eggman's army on himself. Eggman steps up in his Sonic 2 final boss suit, and the fight devolves into the two of them slugging it out, ending with Bowser ripping Eggman out of his armor and throwing him out of his mech. Have him kill Eggman in an over-the-top and cartoony way, with an ending shot of Bowser laughing maniacally as fire sparks begin to rise behind him. The corpses of Eggman's fleet, all now eradicated, as their sparks set up a blaze of glory next to Eggman's suit, as we see Bowser and what remains of his Koopa army standing right in front of it. Episode 20. Now, for the season finale. I mentioned earlier a hand-drawn episode, and I decided that the season finale would be best for that hand-drawn spot. Mickey Mouse vs. Bugs Bunny. This is one of the most obvious matches to be hand-drawn, and while I know some people prefer Donald vs. Daffy, this has always clicked with me more, if only due to character bias. Another issue is animation potential. Could Death Battle really do the fight justice, at least in hand-drawn? While seeing how this is a finale, I'd say so. Finales usually have higher budgets than most other episodes, and characters alone, much less the match itself, is certainly more than enough to carry the fight to be a finale, and a successful one at that. This more than any other episode feels like it'd be the insane episode. This is where the episode where they throw out everything at the wall and anything gets to stick. The episode where they get to go all out, no limits, anything is on the table. And that's why I choose this fight to be my dream season finale. And that is it for my dream season of Death Battle. I had a lot of fun making this list. It was fun. It was a fun challenge trying to come up with different matches that I liked that didn't repeat any series more than once, or at all for that matter. I don't know why I said that. And I still somehow found 20 episodes that I not only liked, but would still legitimately really love to see happen someday. Yeah, I'd love to do that one Biffweed video where he got all of his friends together and made a season of their own. But that'd be a story for another day, maybe. But as it stands, this is my dream season of Death Battle. I hope you guys enjoy what you saw. My name's Gunshow. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys whenever I decide to upload again.